All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Close Up Magic. I'm your host, Stephen Cameron, and today we're going to get into games 1 and 2, the first round series versus Cleveland Cavaliers, which the Magic are down 2-0. Before we get into that, though, I just want to let you all know that I'm recording this Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., actually just before 6 a.m., drinking coffee, and I'm recording directly into my computer mic. It's early, and I'm trying to make as little noise as possible, so setting up my microphones while my daughter was asleep was definitely not going to happen. So I apologize if the audio quality is a little bit different than normal. It's the Magic are in a tough spot right now. They're down 2-0. They're on the road. They're down 0-2, sorry. On the road, they're heading back home to play games 3 and 4. It's just been tough. But before we get into it, let's just go ahead and get out of the way the normal housekeeping stuff. You all know about the Instagram subscriber program. Go ahead and join that if you'd like. It's $5 a month. It really helps us out. We're going to be utilizing that this summer to really revamp what we're doing and give you even more content that's better to your needs this summer going into next season, after the postseason, obviously. The other thing is this podcast is brought to you by BetOnline as your number one source for all summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores are available for you and your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. If you want to bet on these Orlando Magic playoff games coming up, BetOnline's your spot to do it. You can go ahead and do it right there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, shout out to Brandon Kravitz with 96.9 The Game. He is doing a great job with his new podcast, Zone Heads, where he drops 4 episodes a week. They're short, bite-sized episodes, and they're all about Orlando sports, all right? Not just the Magic. Orlando, MLS, UCF, just about everything that happens in Orlando Magic sports, he's covering, and he's dropping them in these awesome bite-sized podcasts. So make sure you head over and check out Zone Heads podcast with Brandon Kravitz, anywhere where you listen to your podcast platforms, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcast, wherever that may be. So check him out. Good shout out to our dude there. So, all right. This podcast probably is not going to be very long today. 10, 15 minutes. Just kind of going to talk through some thoughts that I've been seeing through these last 2 games. And they're probably thoughts you've already heard from other people who have gotten podcasts out in the last couple of days as well. You know, pretty sure the 6-Man Show and obviously Locked On Magic with Philip have put out episodes. But yeah, so here's my thoughts. All right. The Magic defensively have been playing pretty well. Both games they've held the Cavs to under 100 points. They're doing a great job fighting through screens. They're doing a great job, limiting the offense within certain areas within the court, causing turnovers, causing sorry guys, my brain is still waking up, but they're forcing them into shots that the Cavs don't necessarily want to be taking, right? They're forcing them into uncomfortable shots at the rim. They're forcing them into not the best looks from 3. Granted, Donovan Mitchell is always going to make good shots because he's just a playoff monster. He's going to find a way. He's a really amazing player. So they're doing the best they can with him. And obviously the Cavs are scoring, but they're just not scoring the best that they'd like to be. They have some things to figure out if they really want to, be competitive in the next round if they get out from underneath the Magic. So the Magic are doing their job defensively, stopping them from scoring. If you hold a team under 100, that should give you a really good shot at winning a basketball game. However, the Magic just are not able to score right now, and we'll get into that more a little bit later. But, both games, the Magic scored 83 points, 86 points. It's just that's just not enough, right? And why is that? Why are the Magic not getting why are they scoring so low, right? So there's a couple of things, right? Defensively, the Cavs are just not allowing the Magic to play the way they want to do. And we knew this was going to be a problem. We knew the playoffs were going to expose the Magic's biggest weaknesses. Obviously, that's offense. The Magic, I think, were like 22nd ending the season in offensive rating. And the Cavs are just really letting them kind of they're just stopping what they were good at. Like how Magic scored before, points in the paint, driving into the paint. And the way the Cavs are defending it, they're just not allowing that. They're basically you got the painted section underneath the basket, and they're basically camping 4 guys around that paint, one on each side, 2 kind of on the top corners. And, they shift around depending on where the ball handler for the Magic where the Magic ball handler is on the court. But then they have the 5th guy, and sometimes it's a 2nd guy, and there's 3 in the paint, but they have those guys, just kind of doubling and protecting the ball handler, defending the ball handler, which is really just, okay, so let's say the ball handler does get past that first guy. So the way the Cavs are defending, when the Magic have their ball handler on the perimeter, and let's just say he even gets past the first defender, he's going into a wall of defenders. He's got 3 to 4 guys immediately shifting to that ball handler, whether it's Paulo or Franz, and basically just saying, no, you're not going to do what you normally do. You're not going to drive into the paint. You're not going to create contact. We're not going to let you, score how you normally score. So they kick out to a shooter, right? The Magic are shooting a bit more from volume from 3, but that's just because that's kind of what the Cavs are giving them. They're allowing them to shoot from 3 these opportunities, and they're just not converting them right now. The Magic are, they're not a great 3-point shooting team. I think they're around like 26th or 27th in the league in 3-point shooting. They actually shot 25 or 35% from 3 as a team in the regular season. Well, in these last 2 games on the road, where the Magic, they're a better home team than a road team this past year. The first game they shot 21%. The second game they shot 25% from 3, right? You have, in this game 2, you have guys like Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony. They shot 2 from 17 from 3, right? They don't normally do that. Granted, they're not normally shooting an insane amount, but those are guys that typically are making shots, right? Jonathan Isaac, I think he's shooting around 35% for the season, maybe close to 36. I don't have the stat in front of my head, but he's typically going to shoot halfway decent from 3. Jalen Suggs, 40% 3-point shooter. We know Cole Anthony, I don't know his stats off the top of my head, but we know he can make shots. Wendell Carter, I think he ended around 38, 39% from 3 as well. They're shooting more volume from 3 during this series, but they're just not even getting close to making them at what they were making, about 10 to 12 points lower than what they make regularly in the season. So that's one thing that I am hopeful for is we said this after game 1, I'm saying it again after game 2. I would expect those players to make those shots more as they come to their home. When they have the Magic fans behind them, they're playing on a court they're comfortable in, sleeping in their own beds. Imagine those shots for some of those guys that I just called out will start to fall a little bit more, a little bit better. And hopefully that will draw some of the defenders from the paint out to respect them. Now, another thing that can help is the Magic are starting these games off slow. We saw this being a trend at the end of the regular season. They're not getting shots to fall early. There's not anyone kind of getting hot pretty quick to kind of gut check the defense at all. So it's like if you could get, you know, Gary Harris, Jalen Suggs, any of these players to just kind of make a couple of shots quickly off the start, that might actually encourage Cleveland to kind of break away their defense a little bit. That might create a little bit more open space. But right now with these slow starts, they're not allowed. They're just not doing that. The Cleveland has no reason not to just stick to their defensive plan where they're just keeping basically 4 guys down in the paint and guarding the perimeter with one. They're just not doing that. So it's definitely frustrating. But I do think that is an area that should improve. Now, granted, we're not going to become some amazing 3-point shooting team, but can they get back to at least shooting above 30% from 3 a little bit? I would think so. And that would help a lot, right? If the Magic just made, 3 or 4 more 3-pointers per game, that would change things drastically for this franchise in this series, as well as actually, not always playing from behind. If they could actually like score a little bit early and get a couple of stops early so they have the lead. I don't think the Magic have really had the lead once at all in this series. So it's that's concerning. I'd like to see them get a little bit of a faster start offensively, if they can. And I just think that would change a little bit of how the Cavs defend this franchise. So we'll see. 1 second. Needed my coffee. I'm sorry about that. Again, it's early. It's 6:11 a.m. as I'm recording this. So the next thing that is causing the Magic to struggle is rebounding. The Magic are allowing a team that was 22nd in the league at offensive rebounding get lots of out rebounds. Shout out to Jared Allen. He's just owning the glass, right? Coach Mosley is starting Jonathan Isaac next to Paulo Banchero at the 5, and Jonathan Isaac isn't a bad rebounder, but when you pair him up next to someone like Jared Allen, he's just going to get pushed around a lot, and that's really what's happening. And Paulo, he's a decent rebounder, but he's not a strong rebounder either. Like, I think he averaged 7 rebounds per game this season, which unfortunately actually led the team in rebounding. But the Magic, they're not controlling the glass, so the Cavs are getting a lot of second chance point options here, right? So like, in the game last night in game 2, the Cavs had 15 offensive rebounds. All right. And I'm looking up the stat for the second one. In the first game, the Cavs had 10 offensive rebounds. That one's not so bad, but last night on game 2 was horrible. I mean, they literally allowed Jarrett Allen to have 9 offensive rebounds. He just owned the glass in every way possible. I think there's some adjustments that can be made there. From a coaching standpoint, I'd like to see coach pair Jonathan Isaac next to a bigger body. Wendell Carter Jr. maybe. Like, we don't really see Wendell Carter and Jonathan Isaac share the court at the same time together. And I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about Wendell Carter Jr., but he's a bit bigger. He's a bit stronger than Jonathan Isaac. You put him you put those two next to each other, you might have a better chance of controlling the second chance points that the Cavs got in game 2 from offensive rebounds. You might be able to just control that glass a little bit better. And that's what you want them. That's an area that can improve, right? This team isn't going to go from an awful 3-point shooting team to an amazing 3-point shooting team. You can't really make that adjustment. You just hope they make a few more, but you can go from a bad rebounding team, which they weren't during the regular season. The Magic were actually 7th in the league at rebounding. So like, they can go from being a bad rebounding team to a good rebounding team. They just have to make the adjustments with body positioning, with even the lineups that are out there to kind of take advantage and try and outsize a team that is currently outsizing the Magic. That's really what's happening, right? They're playing Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen together, and we're having Jonathan Isaac out there next to Paulo, which, I mean, they're both 6 foot, 6'10" and 7 foot respectively, but they're just getting outsized. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are both good rebounders. It's just a challenge that needs to be addressed. I honestly, I can see why coach decided to start Jonathan Isaac at the 5. But I really ultimately think you need to do a bigger lineup and bring, you know, I wouldn't say Gary Harris has played bad defensively, but if you go bigger, or even just, you can leave the starting lineup as it is, but just do more combinations where you have Wendell Carter Jr. and Jonathan Isaac on the floor at the same time, right? I think that would improve things a lot. I know some Magic fans are asking for Gogo to come out. I just don't see that happening. I don't, maybe that could. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I just don't see Coach Mosley breaking his rotation to the extent of bringing in someone who hasn't been in the rotation in weeks onto the floor to play, playoff minutes. I just don't think that's the solution that's going to happen. I think the solution is better utilizing the players that are currently on the floor to, try and stop some of the bleeding on the glass right there. Yeah, I mean, like, there's really not a whole lot more to say from my perspective. The Magic are turning the ball over a bit. I think Paul the first game had 9. I think in the second game he had like 6 turnovers. He's doing a lot of the ball handling, which is expected. Particularly because Jalen Suggs went out for almost the first. I think he had his injury around the 7-minute mark in the first quarter, and then didn't come back into the game until the second half of game 2. Also, like, shout out to Jalen Suggs for coming back from what looked like a really scary injury. That was not fun looking. His knee looked like it bent the wrong way when he ran into Donovan Mitchell while he was trying to create contact. So it's like, which was not a dirty play, people. We just play in an NBA that encourages creating contact when you have the ball in your hand. So I don't want people thinking Donovan Mitchell is a dirty player. He's not. Just unlucky timing with how those two hit each other. Our players do that too, by the way. Like, they do that move all the time. So just want to give that out. Shout out to Jonathan or Jalen Suggs for being good and coming back. Hopefully we just see him back for regular playing the rest of the playoff series. But we're seeing a lot of these turnovers again because of how the Cavs are defending. They're causing the Magic to force awkward passes after these guys are driving into the paint and having 4 guys collapse on them. It's like, which is, allowing them to get, their hands on the ball through passes, which is not creating the pass to be clean, just forcing really awkward, ball movement to one another. And that's what's helping cause all these turnovers the Magic are having. Let's look, I'll look it up. Last night the Magic had 12 turnovers, not nearly as bad as that was game 1. Game 2, let's see, they had, thank you for bearing with me as I pull these up. They had 17 turnovers last night. That's just not ideal. I believe that was last night's score. Yeah, that was last night's score in game 2. So yeah, just not fun. Those are all things that can get better. They can make smarter choices with the ball, and when they pass, they can make smarter choices with lineups and how they're positioning to stop second chance points and controlling the glass a bit more. And even the Magic getting better at offensive rebounding, they can do better there as well. And yeah, I mean, like, other than that, I'm really not upset with the Magic's defense. Like, you didn't hear me complain too much about the Magic's defense. We kind of know certain things are happening, like Cole Anthony's getting picked on a bit defensively. That's understandable. He's an okay defender, but he's obviously one of the weaker links. Wendell Carter's having a little bit of a hard time defensively too. When he gets dragged outside of the paint. There's a lot of backdoor cuts that are not getting caught with our guys that, could be prevented. So I guess I'm being nitpicky. Those are some areas I'd like to see improved. But we're doing okay. They held the Cavs to 30% 3-point shooting in game 2. Game 1, they held them to 26% 3-point shooting. Like, it's not like the Cavs are shooting lights out either. They're just scoring a few more points than the Magic earlier and just holding the lead the entire time. Like, the games aren't blowouts. It's not like they're winning by 30 points. It's 10 and 12 points. There's just the Magic haven't even been able to get close. I think the closest I saw it in game 2 was like maybe a 5-point and a gap, and that was, I think, in the second or third quarter. Sorry if I don't have that exactly correct, but it was somewhere around there where they had it as close to about 5 points with the second unit. But yeah, they're just not able to really close the gap all that much. So frustrating. Game 2, let's see. Game 3. The Orlando Magic play at the Kia Center on Thursday, the 25th, at 7 p.m. So Kia Center, get excited, be loud. We want the Magic to win both home games and then go steal game 5. That's what needs to happen. We'd love to go back to Cleveland with the series 2-2. That's the ideal situation. That would force the series to go 6 games. If it gets to game 6, if they can steal game 5 and then come home, they have a chance to win out the series in game 6. This Magic team certainly is not out of this series. Being down 2-0 is not ideal, but they're not out of it. They haven't played a home game yet. They certainly could be finishing going back to Cleveland for game 5, 2-2. That's a very real possibility. So looking forward to see how they respond, looking forward to see how coach responds. They have a day off. I imagine between Tuesday and Thursday that the team will get a little bit more of a practice and re-strategize, run through some drills and stuff like that to adjust for how Cleveland is playing. I bet we see that. So looking forward to that. Make sure you guys tune in to the Friday episode with Al and Anthony. They're going to be recording pretty much directly after game 3. So looking forward to that with you all. And check out the Orlando Magic HQ spaces that happen after every single game with Stanley, Bryce, and Skinny. It's been a lot of fun. We're in this. We're here. Magic 5th seed. It's a lot of fun. As frustrating as it is, I'm psyched that the Magic are in this position. Let's go Magic. See you next time. Peace.